US President Donald Trump has tweeted about the lack of progress in the immigration discussions with Mexico. In the White House, Trump tweeted out that the efforts being made were not enough and that if the trend continued, tariffs would be imposed as per the schedule. He also blamed Mexico for the 133,000 border arrests made in the month of May. Trump also believes that the higher tariffs will bring US companies back from Mexico. U.S. House Representative Speaker Nancy Pelosi said on Wednesday that Democratic lawmakers made clear to Mexican officials they wanted to move forward with the new North American trade agreement. The top Democrat in the U.S. Congress addresses reporters on Tuesday, in fact saying that their main concern was enforcement mechanism. Hundreds of Central American migrants have entered Mexico from Guatemala. State and local police officials accompanied the migrants as they walked along a highway leading to the Tapachula city in Mexico. Migrants say they aim to reach the U.S. border, where many of them plan to request for asylum. U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to slap tariffs on imports from Mexico if the problem of illegal migrants is not resolved. U.S. President Donald Trump arrived in Ireland with First Lady Melania Trump as a part of his first visit to the country. He was greeted by Irish Prime Minister Leo Varadkar. The two leaders will hold a meeting before Trump goes to his Doonbeg resort. Senior Irish officials have been invited by the U.S. delegation to Trump's golf club. He's expected to play golf before flying back to the U.S. Donald Trump was originally due to visit the Republic of Ireland last year, but the trip was postponed for scheduling reasons. Pro and anti-Trump protesters faced off in Portsmouth as the US president was in UK for a three-day UK visit. Donald Trump was in the city for, in fact, the commemoration of the anniversary of DDay landings. People against Trump's visit gathered at the square carrying placards which said that no racism, no to Trump. Trump supporters also marched with their hands raised. Police was deployed to prevent any possible scuffle between the two groups. China's foreign ministry called for North Korea and US to maintain peace and show flexibility while peace talks were at a critical stage. Negotiations between Washington and Pyongyang have been at a standstill since the summit between Trump and Kim Jong-un broke down. The US cited North Korea's demands for sanctions relief in exchange for partial surrender of its nuclear capabilities as the main reason behind failure of talks. Russian President Vladimir Putin held talks with Chinese leader Xi Jinping in Moscow on Wednesday and said that both the countries wanted the situation in Venezuela to stabilize. Russia and China are close allies. Venezuela's socialist president Nicolas Maduro. During Xi Jinping's visit, Russian and Chinese business signed a number of bilateral agreements, including a memorandum of understanding between mobile network operator and Huawei. The Royal Air Force of Britain commemorated the D-Day landings with a stunning display of aerobatic flying. The Red Arrows aerobatic until, in fact, the unit flew in multiple formations and left trails of red, blue and white colors to enthrall the people assembled in Portsmouth. At one point, they even made a heart shape in the sky. The flying spectacle came after world leaders came together in the town to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the legendary D-Day landings. Britain hosted a major international event in fact, to mark the 75th anniversary of DDay. Members of the armed forces and more than 300 war veterans who are now over 90 years graced the event. British Prime Minister Theresa May was joined by US President Donald Trump, French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and Prime Ministers from Australia, Belgium, New Zealand, Poland, Canada, to name a few. Sri Lankan government will introduce a 5-year jail term against those caught spreading fake news and hate speech on social media. The penal code in Sri Lanka has been amended to introduce new penalties. The move comes after the government repeatedly alleged Facebook, Twitter and WhatsApp of being used as platforms to spread hate. Sri Lanka faced a surge in spread of fake news after the Easter Sunday bombings that left more than 250 people dead. The terror attack was followed by a 9-day ban on social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram and WhatsApp. Sudanese citizens embraced their revolutionary spirits on Wednesday despite rising death tolls after the raid on protesters at a pro-democracy sit-in in Khartoum. More than 100 people were killed in the crackdown on Sudanese protesters carried out by the security forces. The new State Department has condemned the attacks on protesters and called for an end of violence. The Peruvian Congress has reimposed confidence in the current government as it passed the vote of confidence 77 against 4 after 9 long hours of debate around the new proposals by President Martin Vizcarra. The Congress passed the vote. Vizcarra's new proposals include a new anti-graft proposal which has been stuck in a legislative gridlock. A vote of no confidence would have enabled Vizcarra to dissolve the Congress and call for new elections. China has completed a rocket launch from a mobile platform in the Yellow Sea. The rocket was carrying 2 experimental satellites and 5 commercial ones. The CZ-11 Way rocket was launched from the Long March 11 rocket carrier over an ocean-based platform. Ocean-based launches have benefits like fuel economy and reduced risk from the falling rocket. China will apparently make this ocean-based launching service available to the countries that are part of the Belt and Road Initiative. $11,000 kilograms of garbage was removed and 4 dead bodies were recovered after Nepal government launched an expedition to Mount Everest. Cleaners spent weeks on the slopes of the world's highest mountains to collect food wrappers, cans, bottles and empty oxygen cylinders. Officials called it a successful mission but said that more garbage needs to be removed from Everest. It is unclear how many dead bodies are still left on the mountain. Officials say they have no records of that as of now. South Korea is desperately trying to arrest the possible spread of swine flu after its outbreak in the north. The Agriculture Ministry has said that all the blood tests it took from the pigs in the inter-Korean border region have come back negative. Fences and traps have been fixed on the border to prevent the wild boars in north from coming into contact with the domesticated pigs in the border region. South Korea, in fact, the South also blamed North Korea for its lack of interest in a joint effort to stem the spread. Former Vatican Treasurer Cardinal George Pell left an Australian court after the first day of an appeal hearing. George Pell was given a jail term of 6 years after he was found guilty of abusing 2 boys inside a Melbourne cathedral in 1996. Pell has been contesting the verdict, calling it unreasonable as it relied heavily on the testimony of the survivor. He also claims that the trial judge had wrongly prevented defense animation from being played at the trial. The Vatican said that Pell had a right to defend himself to the last degree. Pell was removed from the Pope's inner circle in December last year. Amazon has revealed its drones that will deliver packages to customers within 30 minutes. According to Amazon chief executive, the drones will take off and land vertically and are better equipped to spot moving objects. The drones can deliver up to 2.3 kilograms across a distance of 24 kilometers. Amazon, however, has not revealed where they will be testing the new drones. The last U.S. cruise ship has left Cuba amid the restrictions placed by the U.S. State Department. The ship named Empress of Havana left the Cuban port, signaling the end of a lucrative tourism inflow from the Cuban economy. The restrictions are part of Trump's new policy to control tourism to the Central American island. Hundreds of passengers boarded the ship as it made its abrupt journey back to the U.S. A floating crane will be put into use to pull the tourist boat out of water, which sank on the Danube River, killing several on board. The crane is able to lift 200 tons of weight. However, fast flow of river and high water levels are posing as obstacles. Weather conditions are making it difficult for the crane to pass under some of the bridges along its route. Only 7 people out of 35 on board the sunken vessel survived the tragedy. Boat carrying tourists from South Korea and Hungarian crew members sank after it collided with a bigger vessel. Many bodies have still not been recovered. Non-stop rains lashed on Bengaluru, leaving several areas waterlogged. Several trees got uprooted in localities like in Koramangala and Bengaluru, causing widespread inconvenience to commuters. According to the Met Department, the rainfall will persist for the next couple of days in Bengaluru. In some good news coming from Assam, a school has adopted a novel approach to tackling the menace of plastic. The Akshar Forum School near Dispur has made plastic collection compulsory for attendance. Around 110 students who attend the school are asked to bring up to 20 items from their homes. These plastic materials are then reused productively by the schools, sometimes even as eco bricks for building infrastructure.